Perfect man.
A bunch of the boys were whooping it up at the Malamute Saloon. The kid that handled the music box was hitting a jag-time tune. Back at the bar in a solo game sat Dangerous Dan McGrue, and watching his luck was his light of love, the lady who's known as Lou. When out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave and scarcely the strength of a louse, yet he tilted his polka dust on the bar, and he called out drinks for the house. There was none could place that stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for a clue, but we drank to his health, and the last to drink was Dangerous Dan McGrue. Now there's men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold them hard like a spell, and such was he, and he looked to me like a man who had lived in hell, with a face most hair and a dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. And I got to figuring who he was and wondering what he'd do. I turned my head, and watching him there was the lady who's known as Lou. Now his eyes went rubbering round the room, and he seemed in kind of a daze, till at last the old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink. There was no one else at the stool, so the stranger he stumbles across the room, flops down there like some fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway, and his talon hands, they gripped the keys. My God, but that man could play. Were you ever out in the great alone when the night was awful clear, and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you most could hear, with only a howl of the timber wolf as you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold? While high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the northern lights danced in bars, then you've a hunch what his music meant. Hunger and night and the stars. And not hunger of the belly's kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home and all that it means. For a fireside far from the cares that are, four walls and a roof above, and oh so crammed full of cozy joy, and crowned with a woman's love. A woman dearer than all the world, and true as heaven is true. God, how ghastly she looks through her rouge, the lady who's known as Lou. Then on a sudden his music changed, so softly you scarce could hear. But you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear. That someone had stolen the woman you loved, and her love was a devil's lie. That your guts were gone, and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair, but it thrilled me true and true. I guess I'll make it a spread, monsieur, says Dangerous Dan McGrue. The stranger turned, his eyes they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. And his lips went into a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. And boys, he says, you don't know me, and none of you care a damn. But I'll have to state that my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you men is a hound from hell, and that one is Dan McGrue. I ducked my head, and the lights went out. 2 guns they blazed in the dark. A woman screamed, the lights came up. 2 men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead lay Dangerous Dan McGrue, while a man from the creeks was clutched to the breast of the lady who's known as Lou. Now these are the simple facts of the case, and I guess I ought to know. And they say that stranger was crazed with hooch, and I ain't denying that so. It ain't so wise as them lawyer guys, but strictly between us two. The woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady who's known as Lou. The end. Robert Sir.